Welcome to the Institute for Strategic Policy Solutions. My name is Kimberly Jackson, and I'm the Executive Director of our think tank here that was created by Congressman Bill Young. Today, we are honored to have worked all day with Congressman Bill Rackus' team. I'm going to say Army of Angels, who help veterans in our community access really important resources to transform their lives. I've spent the day talking to several individuals who make an extreme difference in our community. And our last speaker today here is Jana Balaki of St. Vincent De Paul Cares. There's been a lot of names today, so I've been practicing. So please tell me a little bit about your agency and how you help veterans in our community.
So St. Vincent De Paul Cares was founded around 1985, and really with the mission to alleviate pain and suffering. With really a vision to respect people and recognize that we build everything on the dignity of people, and that we try and harness their will and their power to end homelessness and also alleviate poverty and just to better our community. The services, just overall services we provide, are shelter services. We have shelter services for families, individuals. We have transitional housing for veterans. We operate a thrift store, community-based thrift store that also provides vouchers for the clients that we serve in the shelter. We provide rapid rehousing services to about 16 counties throughout Florida. And just to kind of talk a little bit about rapid rehousing, just to give a base, rapid rehousing is part of a strategy to end homelessness. So when we look at people who are in homelessness, there's kind of three places that they fall. Initially, if someone has just entered homeless for the first time, loss of a job or an illness, and have a history of pretty sound housing stability, they may just take a very minimal, if any, kind of intervention. Usually they self-resolve. And then there's the group in the middle that maybe due to a loss of job or a combination of things that usually involves, they've ended up homeless and they're struggling to get out of homelessness. And that's where rapid rehousing really finds its place as a strategy to pull people out of homelessness quickly, house them quickly, and then work to provide wraparound services to help them sustain housing. And then the group of people who it's more chronic and they have more chronic conditions, permanent supportive housing is a housing strategy for them. It's longer term. It may be, as long as they need supportive services. It might include subsidies, where rapid rehousing is shorter term in nature, 6 months to a year typically, where we provide financial assistance and then vocational services, case management, housing location. So those are the services that St. Vincent De Paul Cares is involved with. And around 2011, 2012 is when they first received the contract from the VA for supportive services for families. So we refer to it as SSVF. We always have acronyms. So SSVF, we started out in Pinellas County and Hillsborough. And now, like I said, we have SSVF services in 16 counties, and I can name them.
No, you don't have to name them.
But it's just north of us, Hillsborough, Polk, and then the Heartland area in Florida, and then southwest. So that includes Sarasota all the way down to Collier. So we are providing supportive services for veteran families in those areas, and it's all rapid rehousing. We also do prevention services for veterans. And it's part of the SSVF program. So it allows us to, when a veteran who's eligible, and I'll share that in a moment, if they get behind in their rent, if they get behind in their utilities, and this really, I think, applies especially to right now with what we're going through, we're able to assist with financial assistance. And if someone is literally homeless, they would fall under rapid rehousing. And we work with them to get them into housing as quickly as possible. Typically 30 to 90 days is the goal. We don't We don't
30 to 90 days of getting them into housing?
to get
or
them
to-
into housing.
Okay.
So we work with people that are straight, either they're on the street, living in their car, or they might be in a shelter.
Yeah.
And the goal really is to get them out of those environments that are very traumatic and get them in a place where they can start looking at those things that have contributed to their homelessness. So once we house someone, then the case managers really work to identify those barriers for that client. It's very individualized. It's different for everybody.
Yeah.
And the goal is to help them stabilize in housing and then sustain it and not enter back into homelessness.
So I have so many questions swimming in my head, and one of them is, of course, how your agency has handled the change from pre-COVID to now. Another is there's always challenge with transitions when someone is homeless or has housing insecurity about how you find them, locate them, and keep them engaged as you're trying to place them in your rapid housing. And then lastly, the question is, in light of some of the barriers being lifted for evictions, how are you going to handle the spike since you do housing literally across our state?
Yeah. So to start with COVID, so when COVID started, our agency really focused on that we were essential workers. So as far as providing homeless services, our shelter did not shut down. We continued to have people come in. We did work on very diligently on social distancing and all of the CDC guidelines, implementing those. We did have to reduce census just because of having to give people space and
Yes.
that. Our programs with SSVF, we continued to work. We have implemented a remote working situation as well, just to reduce the numbers in our office, to try and, it is a challenge. We're focusing on the safety and health of our staff.
Yes.
But recognizing that our clients are very at risk. And so, we've implemented things to help with the safety and well-being of our staff, as well as still supporting our clients that we have. Either we're looking for housing for them, or we are supporting them in their housing as they're already in. With the onset of COVID, the VA has released a great deal of funds to really address, and they have prioritized those veterans that are literally on the street and that are also in shelter at risk of contracting COVID. It initially started with veterans that were high risk, so they were older, may had health conditions that would compromise or be a higher risk. And then they opened it up to any veteran that's on the street. So we have, throughout the 16 counties, probably close to 300 veterans in motels that we've placed in emergency housing. 140 just here in Pinellas County. And these are veterans that we very rapidly were referred. We're working very closely with the VA. We're working with the med centers and the hospitals and also the shelters to identify veterans that are literally homeless. So we've gotten them into the emergency shelters, and they are being enrolled in rapid rehousing. So we also are working to house them. Just in the last 3 months, we've housed over 270 plus units, families, about 175 just here veterans. So we've continued to work. We've continued to, I'm very proud of it. I'm very impressed with the staff, the people that are working with the clients. They're very mission driven.
Yes.
And although we're working to, like I said, protect them, but also protect the clients, that it's been challenging, I think stressful, but to watch people rise to the occasion has been very impressive.
Yes. Which always is, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking as you're talking, the multitude of mental challenges that happen, not necessarily related to cognitive issues, but degenerative issues because of isolation and the additional stress of life right now. I mean, if you know a veteran or you know someone who's ever experienced homeless or homeless insecurity, it's not just the physical act, of course, of not having, a space to breathe.
Yeah.
And although we have this beautiful state, it's hot. And, there are spaces that are not welcome. So I'm sure when you actually get and peel off those layers, that it's quite challenging.
Yeah, and like I said, we've been able to maintain contact. We've hired additional staff to help with the increase in clients that we're serving. You had asked about the outreach and finding veterans. You just mentioned the challenge with things closing. There, places aren't open that used to be open where veterans were.
Right.
So when we are referred veterans, it has been challenging to locate and find them. Even the shelters have closed where the veterans are there and we don't have access.
Yes.
So we've just tried to be as creative as possible. We're using, the phones, we're helping veterans get phones. The VA has really, they have expanded and amended some of the restrictions and criteria for SSVF to allow us to do additional services for the veterans. So that's been very helpful. We've been able to kind of keep things afloat and keep veterans moving forward and housing them. The challenge with the eviction piece that we're not sure how that is all going to play out. What we are fortunate is right now is we're able to do prevention. So where we're finding veterans, and we've publicized our number and our contact information for veterans or service providers that work with veterans to be able to reach out to us and see if they're eligible for prevention services, if they get behind in their rent or utilities because they lost their job due to COVID or were not able to be employed. So we've seen a spike in that, an increase in the prevention. We're anticipating seeing more as people are going to move into evictions.
Yes.
One thing that's been on the other side for us with that is we work very closely with landlords. We partner with landlords. They're very critical to what we do. And right now they don't have open units because they have not been able to follow any evictions or perform any evictions where they've had people that they no longer are eligible for their units. So we've ran into a challenge with that, the availability of housing units. But with that said, we have an amazing housing team and they're still out there working with landlords. They've been, like I said, very creative in working through the barriers with the pandemic. We have to do inspections of every unit that we put a veteran in. And some of those inspections, the landlord's doing virtually, so they're walking around,
wow.
or they leave a key in the lockbox and we're able to go in. So we're just trying to figure it out and continue to do what we do.
Well, one last question. I've spoken to a lot of agencies today. I think you're one of the largest ones. Before I was asking how they're partnering with other agencies. Do you all partner with other agencies or do they rely on your resources to help with home insecurity? Because I think we've had at least 3 or 4 agencies today who do somewhat what you do on a smaller scale.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, working in the system of care and the continuum of care of homelessness, it's critical that we all work together. We all have the same goal, and is to end homelessness.
Yes.
And to alleviate poverty. And so we're better together than alone. And so we have a lot of partners. Again, I talked about landlords. Landlords are a big partner of ours. They're kind of outside of our normal realm of partnerships. We partner with vocational services. Yes. We partner with Career Source. We partner with BOLI and other community-based organizations that help us with when veterans need assistance with employment services.
Yes.
we contract out as well and help link people to other community partners for behavioral health services, mental health, substance abuse.
Yes.
So that partnership is extremely important.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I appreciate all the services that you do. And thank you for partnering with Congressman Gus Bilirakis, who
Absolutely.
we've had quite a day learning, and we hope that this information is widely distributed so people know where to go when they need help.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.